Welcome back to AgriTalk. Today in San Diego at the American Veterinary Medical Association. Joining us now is Dr. Jeff Bender, Associate Professor, Director of Center for Animal Health for Food Safety at the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine. We're going to talk about one of the hot topics right now, antibiotic use in animal agriculture. And Jeff, when we look at this issue, I was saying to you before we went on the air, I always find it amazing that in our society where we are so dependent and so expectant of having antibiotics for human use, that all of a sudden there's this move now to try to almost eliminate them from use in animals. I find that interesting that this is going on at the same time here. I mean, obviously there's an important role for animal health, the use of antibiotics, and we have to make sure we don't lose those valuable tools to protect our animals and, of course, our food supply as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that antibiotics are, in a sense, a gift, and they are important from a number of standpoints. One, just for the healthy animal, the welfare of the animal, and that's hard for sometimes the consumer to realize that, hey, they're a tool, and we need to use them. At the same time, too, because they're a gift, we need to be judicious, appropriate in how we use them, and so that's actually where the ongoing discussion and the recent legislation and guidance that we're getting from the federal government. But clearly what is happening here is the consumer is saying we don't want antibiotics in our food. And there's a little bit of a disjoint between what the consumer understands how antibiotics are used and what actually occurs on the farm.
And let's talk about that, because if they're concerned about antibiotics in their food, I mean, how do we assure them that you can have antibiotics in livestock production and not have, you know, any negative carryover effect in our food?
Well, I think it goes to the, I might divert your question a little bit here in the fact that when you look at antibiotics and use of antibiotics, it is really an ecosystem of use. I mean, basically, if you and I use it, or if I use it, it may impact you. If we use it in animals, it may impact the environment, it may impact people. So this is a long way of saying that there's a great degree of interconnectedness there. So in a sense, when it comes to food and understanding how it's applied in food, we need to be thinking about the bottom line message of how do we try to prevent any impact into that food. I think overall, I think that producers do a phenomenal job. They recognize that there's a withdrawal period. They need to remove it so that there is no effect on the product itself. I think we need to do a better job of educating the consumer that, you know, we are not just throwing antibiotics there. And that's actually part of the ongoing discussion about how those antibiotics are used and how do we make sure that they're being used appropriately.
We hear some of these worst case scenarios played out and described, and the health risks that people may be having by use of antibiotics in livestock production. We hear about, you know, all kinds of health problems. Is there a problem? Are you concerned about our antibiotic use in livestock production?
I actually am more concerned about just general antibiotic use. I mean, when you think about how we use antibiotics in people, how we use it in agriculture, that may be plants, it may be animals. Anytime we use antibiotics, that creates a selective pressure on the bacteria. So they're about to change. Now, how much does that really account for changing antibiotic resistance? By which sector is the debatable piece. But I think we should all be concerned about, because again, we need to use them, and they provide a very valuable tool to prevent disease, to control disease. But from the standpoint of pointing a finger as to who's to blame for this, that's probably not the point. The point is that we need to think about how do we more judiciously use.
So proper use is the key. Elimination of antibiotics in livestock production would lead to more problems, wouldn't it?
Correct. I mean, when you think about the converse event, if we totally eliminate antibiotics, then we have an animal welfare issue. Clearly, that's one, because basically treatment is one effect. The second is that efficiencies. We're losing efficiencies, and actually our food costs are going to go up as a result of that, and actually we'll have more waste as a result of that too, because it'll take longer for that animal to get to production.
It seems like those points have been left out of a lot of the public debate on this issue, and we don't hear about those aspects of it. All right, Dr. Bender, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Dr. Jeff Bender, Associate Professor, Director of the Center for Animal Health for Food Safety at the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into the animal rights issues. That's coming up next from the American Veterinary Medical Association Convention in San Diego. It's halftime on AgriTalk.